My name is Sloan Whitfield, and until 6 months ago, I thought Ms. Jennifer Blake was the best thing that ever happened to Riverside Elementary, Teacher of the Year twice, 100,000 Instagram followers, and a smile that convinced every parent she truly cared. But then my 8-year-old daughter Ivy started having nightmares about cameras watching her, and I noticed something odd during our parent conference. Ms. Blake kept glancing at her laptop and suppressing smiles while telling me my daughter was slow. When I accidentally spilled my purse and saw her computer screen, what I discovered made my blood run cold. If you're watching this video right now, I would love to know where you're from. Drop it in the comment section below. Hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about family relationships that take unexpected turns. The coffee had gone cold again. Sloan Whitfield stared at the constitutional law textbook spread across her kitchen table, the words blurring together as exhaustion pulled at her eyelids. 3:47 a.m. glowed mockingly from the microwave clock. In 4 hours, she'd need to wake Ivy for school. In 5, she'd be at the law firm, filing briefs and scheduling depositions. Tonight, like every night, she'd stolen these precious hours from sleep to chase her dream of becoming a lawyer. Mommy? Sloane's head snapped up. Ivy stood in the doorway, her favorite stuffed rabbit clutched against her chest, dark circles shadowing her 8-year-old eyes. Another nightmare, sweetheart? Ivy nodded, patting across the linoleum in her unicorn socks. The camera people were watching again. Sloane's chest tightened. This was the 4th nightmare this week. What camera people, baby? I can't tell you. Ivy's voice dropped to a whisper. Ms. Blake's friends will see. Before Sloane could probe further, Ivy had burrowed into her lap, thin shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Sloane held her daughter, mind racing. 6 weeks ago, Ivy had been a different child, bright, confident, eager to share every detail of her school day. Now she came home withdrawn, anxious, begging for just one more day, to stay homesick. The change had coincided with getting Ms. Jennifer Blake as her 3rd-grade teacher. Jennifer Blake is absolutely revolutionary, gushed Melissa Hartley the next afternoon at pickup. Have you seen her Instagram? She has like 100,000 followers. She posts the most amazing teaching tips. Sloane shifted uncomfortably, watching Ivy emerge from the school building with her head down, backpack dragging. I don't really do social media. Oh, you're missing out. She live streams teaching workshops every week. She's been featured in 3 education magazines this year alone. We're so lucky to have her. Lucky. Sloane watched Ivy climb into their aging Honda Civic without her usual chatter about recess or art class. Then why does my daughter look like she's serving a prison sentence? That evening, Sloane spread Ivy's recent schoolwork across the table. Red ink bled across every page. Disappointing effort. Try harder. Below grade level. One math worksheet had "Is everything okay at home?" scrawled across the top. Sloane pulled out Ivy's folder from 2nd grade. Page after page of gold stars, smiley faces, excellent work, and gifted student. The contrast was jarring. Ivy, honey, can you help me understand these comments from Ms. Blake? Ivy's face went pale. She says I'm not smart like the other kids. She says it's not my fault because... She trailed off. Because what? Nothing. The email arrived Thursday evening, CC'd to Principal Roberts and the school counselor. Dear Ms. Whitfield, I'm writing to request an urgent parent conference regarding Ivy's concerning academic performance and behavioral changes. As you may be aware, Ivy's work has declined significantly this semester. I believe we need to discuss potential learning disabilities and whether Ivy's home environment is conducive to academic success. I have an opening tomorrow at 2 p.m. Given the urgency of Ivy's situation, I trust you'll make arrangements with your employer. Best, Jennifer Blake, 3rd grade teacher of excellence, Riverside Elementary. Sloane read it 3 times, anger building with each pass. The condescension dripped from every word. She opened her laptop to compose a response, then stopped. Better to handle this in person. She called her supervisor at the law firm. I need tomorrow afternoon off. It's Ivy. Another school thing? Sloane, the partners are starting to notice. I know. I'm sorry. It's important. Friday morning, Sloane prepared like she would for a deposition. She compiled Ivy's previous report cards, standardized test scores showing 95th percentile, the glowing letter from last year's teacher recommending gifted program placement. She printed emails from Ms. Blake, highlighting the increasingly aggressive tone. She even included Ivy's recent artwork, disturbing drawings of cameras with eyes, children behind bars, a teacher figure with devil horns labeled Ms. B. Meanwhile, across town in classroom 3B, Jennifer Blake was conducting her own preparations. "Good morning, my beautiful educators." She beamed at her laptop camera, adjusting the ring light to catch her best angle. "Welcome back to Teachers Unfiltered, where we keep it real about the parents who make our jobs impossible." The chat exploded with heart emojis and laughing faces. 500 viewers and climbing. Today's going to be special, guys. Remember last week when I told you about the single mom who thinks her obviously struggling daughter is gifted? She laughed, a tinkling sound that didn't reach her eyes. Well, she's coming in today at 2 p.m. I've got cameras set up here, here, and here. She pointed to discrete locations around the classroom. You won't miss a second of what I'm calling when denial meets reality. Brad teaches. OMG, yes. Your parent conferences are the best. Miss Kindergarten. That poor kid with a mom like that. Edie Warrior. Get her, Jen. These parents need a reality check. Blake smiled at the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the premium tier for exclusive content. Last month's video, Helicopter Mom has meltdown over failed spelling test, is still our top seller. She glanced at her planning book where she'd carefully doctored Ivy's tests, lowering scores, adding harsh comments. The originals were safely destroyed. She'd learned to create parallel gradebooks after a close call last year. The best part? Blake winked at the camera. This mom works 2 jobs and goes to night school. She thinks she's going to be a lawyer. The chat erupted in laughter emojis. Can you imagine? She can't even help her 3rd grader with homework. Blake checked her watch. 4 hours until showtime. She opened her desk drawer, revealing a small bottle of eye drops, the kind that made eyes water on command. Perfect for the concerned teacher act. Sloane arrived at Riverside Elementary at 1:55 p.m., professional in her best blazer despite running on 3 hours of sleep. She'd reviewed her notes in the parking lot, treating this like the legal proceeding it might become. Principal Roberts nodded as she passed his office. Ms. Whitfield. Principal Roberts. Will you be joining us? Ms. Blake indicated she could handle it. But my door's open if needed. Interesting. Sloane filed that away. Classroom 3B looked like a shrine to Jennifer Blake's success. Teacher of the Year plaques, magazine covers featuring her smiling face, inspirational quotes in flowing script. But Ivy's desk sat in the back corner, isolated from the others. A small detail that spoke volumes. Sloane. So good of you to make time. Blake's voice dripped honey over arsenic. She was seated behind her desk, laptop open, angled slightly away. Of course. Ivy's education is my priority. Is it though? Blake's smile tightened. Please sit. Sloane took the chair, notably lower than Blake's, a power play she recognized from depositions. She placed her folder on the desk. I've brought Ivy's previous academic records. That won't be necessary. Blake waved dismissively. We need to focus on the present, not the past. She pulled out a stack of papers, Ivy's recent work. As you can see, Ivy is struggling significantly. Sloane examined the papers. Something was off. The handwriting on several looked forced, unnatural. This doesn't look like Ivy's usual. Denial is natural, Blake interrupted, her eyes flicking to her laptop screen. It's hard for parents to accept when their child isn't as exceptional as they believed. Blake had arranged the classroom like a stage. Ivy's worst work was displayed on the bulletin board behind Sloane. Tests with bright red FS that Ivy had never seen, writing samples that weren't even hers. The laptop was positioned perfectly to capture Sloane's reactions while Blake played to her invisible audience. Let's start with some context, Blake said, fingers dancing near her keyboard. How many hours a day do you actually spend with Ivy? Sloane straightened. I'm with her every morning and evening. But you work 2 jobs? Blake's tone suggested crime. And a 10-night school? So really, how many waking hours? My schedule doesn't. Does Ivy have a stable male figure in her life? Blake leaned forward, eyes glittering. Children from broken homes often struggle academically. Sloane felt heat rise in her cheeks. Ivy's father passed away when she was 3. That has nothing to do with... Oh, I'm so sorry. Blake's sympathy was performative, exaggerated. That explains so much. The trauma, combined with an absent mother. I am not absent. Sloane's voice hardened. I'm working to build a better life for my daughter. Blake's lips quirked. She glanced at her screen, suppressing a smile at what must have been an explosion of comments. Of course. But perhaps Ivy needs more specialized attention. Have you considered having her tested? Tested for what? Learning disabilities. Developmental delays. Blake pulled out a pamphlet. There's no shame in it. Some children simply aren't equipped for mainstream education. Sloane opened her folder, hands steady despite her anger. Ivy scored in the 95th percentile on state assessments last year. Her previous teacher recommended gifted placement. Blake laughed, actually laughed. Oh, Sloane. Those tests don't measure real intelligence. Ivy clearly gets her intelligence from you, and while I'm sure you're doing your best, the insult hung in the air. Sloane saw Blake's eyes dart to her screen again, a small smile playing at her lips. What exactly are you implying about my intelligence, Ms. Blake? Nothing at all. I'm just saying genetics play a role. You're a... She paused, savoring the moment. Paralegal, right? Not everyone is meant for higher education. There's no shame in vocational work. A muffled sound came from the laptop. Laughter, quickly cut off. Blake fumbled with her trackpad. Sorry, just a notification. Sloane's instincts sharpened. Something was very wrong here. I'd like to discuss your teaching methods, Sloane said carefully. Ivy's mentioned cameras. Something about your friends watching. Blake's face flickered with panic before resuming its mask. Children have such imaginations. I sometimes record lessons for professional development. Perfectly standard. And these friends, other educators, we share best practices. Blake was typing something quickly. Now, back to Ivy's issues. Ms. Blake, are you communicating with someone right now? During our conference? Just taking notes. Blake's smile was rigid. I document all parent meetings. For liability reasons. You understand, being in legal work. Another muffled sound from the laptop. This time, Sloane was certain multiple people laughing. Could you show me Ivy's actual grades in your gradebook? Sloane asked. Not just selected papers? I don't think that's... Blake started to close her laptop. Sloane's purse slipped from her lap, contents spilling everywhere. Oh, I'm so sorry. She dropped to her knees, gathering lipstick, keys, the toy rabbit Ivy had insisted she bring for luck. Blake watched with barely concealed contempt, not moving to help. How clumsy of me, Sloane said, reaching for a pen that had rolled behind Blake's desk. From this angle, she could see the laptop screen clearly. Her blood froze. A live stream platform filled the screen. The title read, Delusional Single Mom Can't Accept Her Slow Kid. 527 viewers. The chat scrolled rapidly. Teach Talk 2024. She really thinks her kid is gifted face with tears of joy. Elementary Ella. The mom looks exhausted, probably neglect. Grade school guru. Blake is destroying her. Mr. Reading. Wait till she cries. They always cry. Classroom queen. Get her Jen. Show her the truth. A sidebar showed previous streams. Helicopter dad threatens to sue. Mom has breakdown over son's ADHD. The dumbest parent conference ever. Sloane's mind raced. She grabbed her pen, stood slowly, keeping her face neutral. She returned to her seat, pulling out her phone as if checking the time, actually hitting record. You were saying about Ivy's learning disabilities? She prompted. Blake, unaware, launched back into her performance. Yes, I'm quite concerned. She cries frequently. I can't focus. I've had to separate her from other students because she's so disruptive. Disruptive how? Oh, the usual. Attention-seeking behavior. Making up stories. Blake was hitting her stride now, playing to her audience. Just yesterday, she claimed I was being mean to her. Classic deflection from a child who can't handle academic challenges. And you've documented this? Extensively. Blake pulled out a file. I've recommended psychological evaluation. Sometimes childhood trauma, like losing a parent, manifests as academic failure, combined with an overwhelmed single mother. Well, the pattern is obvious. Sloane kept recording, letting Blake dig deeper. What would you recommend? Sloane asked, voice steady. Honestly, alternative schooling. Maybe homeschooling if you could manage it, though given your schedule. Blake shrugged. Some children just aren't meant for traditional success. It's better to accept that now than let her struggle for years. You don't think she could improve? With support? Blake laughed again, that tinkling, false sound. Sloane, I've been teaching for 15 years. I know a lost cause when I see one. Ivy is. She paused dramatically, glancing at her screen. Special. But not in the way you think. The chat must have been going wild. Blake's eyes sparkled with cruel satisfaction. Miss Blake, Sloane said quietly, what if I told you I've been recording this conversation? Blake's face drained of color. You can't. That's illegal without consent. Actually, in this state, single-party consent is sufficient for recording conversations where you're a participant. I learned that in my paralegal work. Sloane stood. But you know what is illegal? Recording minors without parental consent. Streaming them for profit. Violating FERPA by sharing student information publicly. I don't know what you're talking about. Blake's hand moved toward her laptop. Sloane was faster. She walked directly to where she'd identified the main camera hidden in a bookshelf decoration. She looked straight into it. Hello, everyone watching. I want you to know that I'm actually not just a paralegal. I'm also on the school board, elected last month, haven't been announced yet. We've been investigating reports of teachers exploiting students for social media content. Blake lunged for her laptop, knocking it sideways. The stream continued, now showing Blake's panicked face from an awkward angle. This is entrapment. Blake screamed. You set me up? No, Sloane said calmly, still addressing the camera. I came here as a concerned mother. You chose to live stream it. You chose to humiliate children and parents for entertainment. And everyone watching chose to participate in child exploitation. The chat exploded into chaos. Some viewers fled immediately. Others screenshot everything. A few tried to defend Blake, but the damage was done. Sloane pulled out her phone again, sending a single text to Principal Roberts. Come to room 3B immediately. Bring security and IT. Blake was frantically typing, trying to end the stream, delete archives, destroy evidence. You don't understand. This is my job. This is how education works now. Content creation is part of teaching. No, Sloane said. Using children as unwilling performers for your financial gain is not teaching. It's exploitation. They'll never believe you. I have tenure. I have awards. And you have 527 witnesses who just watched you admit to everything. Principal Roberts burst through the door with 2 security guards and the IT administrator. He took in the scene, Blake's laptop showing the streaming platform, Sloane standing calmly by the hidden camera, Blake pressed against her desk like a cornered animal. Ms. Blake, he said quietly, step away from the computer. You don't understand. Blake's carefully constructed persona crumbled entirely. She tricked me. She said she was the school board president. She's lying. Sloane turned to Roberts. I'm actually just a concerned parent. But I did record our conversation, where Ms. Blake suggested my daughter was mentally deficient, made discriminatory comments about single mothers, and violated numerous ethical guidelines. The IT administrator had already accessed Blake's computer. Sir, there are hundreds of hours of footage here. Students, parents, all tagged with cruel titles. Blake made one last desperate grab for her laptop. That's private property. On school premises, using school Wi-Fi, recording minor students, Robert said. Security, please escort Ms. Blake to my office. Ms. Blake, you're suspended pending investigation. Effective immediately. As security approached, Blake turned to the still-running stream, mascara streaming down her face. You're all witnesses. This is persecution. I'm an award-winning teacher. The viewer count was dropping rapidly, but enough remained to witness her complete meltdown. She looked directly at the camera one last time. They don't understand innovation. They don't understand that education needs to evolve. I was making teaching relevant. You were making my daughter cry, Sloane said quietly. You were destroying children's self-esteem for likes and subscribes. As Blake was escorted out, still ranting about her rights and her followers, Sloane heard her say something that chilled her blood. You have no idea what you've started. I'm not the only one. We have a whole network. My producer will destroy you. Roberts looked at Sloane. Producer? Sloane sank into the tiny student chair, suddenly exhausted. I think this is bigger than just one teacher, Principal Roberts. Much bigger. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You just cost me my biggest star. You'll regret this. Sloane looked at the message, then at the classroom where her daughter had been tormented for entertainment. She typed back, I'm just getting started. The war for her daughter, and for every child being exploited in classrooms across the country, had begun. The live stream was still running. Jennifer Blake's perfectly manicured hands clawed at the security guard's grip as they dragged her toward the door. Her laptop lay sideways on the floor, camera capturing everything at a Dutch angle that made the scene even more surreal. The viewer count fluctuated wildly, people leaving in droves, others joining to witness the spectacle. You don't know who you're messing with, Blake screamed, her Teacher of the Year composure completely shattered. I have 50,000 followers. I have sponsors. I have. You have the right to remain silent, Principal Roberts said firmly. This is a school matter for now, but given what we're seeing, law enforcement will be involved. Blake twisted toward the laptop, seeing the chat explode with messages. Pedagogy Pro. Is this real? Class Act Taylor. Delete everything now. Teach and preach. We're all going to get caught. Grade school gossip. I'm out. This is insane. They're not my real audience. Blake shouted at the camera. The real educators understand. Tell them, Marcus. Tell them about the movement. Sloane's head snapped up. Who's Marcus? Blake's eyes widened as she realized her mistake. The security guards paused at Robert's signal. Marcus. Roberts asked carefully. Marcus who? Blake pressed her lips together, but the damage was done. The chat went wild with speculation. The IT administrator, Kevin Park, was already working on Blake's laptop. Sir, I need to preserve this stream before he stopped, staring at the screen. She's not the host. Someone else is controlling the stream remotely. What? Roberts moved to look. The account owner is listed as EdTech Innovations LLC. Blake is just a performer. Sloane stood, her legal training kicking in. We need to document everything before they cut the feed. She started taking photos with her phone. Kevin, can you download the stream? Already on it. His fingers flew across the keyboard. But whoever's on the other end is trying to lock me out. Blake laughed, a hysterical edge to it. You idiots. You think I'm some amateur? This is a professional operation. Two students appeared in the doorway, Aiden and Grace, fifth graders who'd stayed late for chess club. They stared wide-eyed at their former third-grade teacher being restrained. Ms. Blake. Aiden said uncertainly. Blake's face contorted. Get those kids out of here. But Grace stepped forward. Is this about the camera games? Everyone froze. What camera games, sweetheart? Sloane asked gently. Grace looked at Aiden, who nodded. Ms. Blake made us play pretend for her camera friends. She said it was to help other teachers learn, but... Grace's voice dropped. She laughed at us. She made Tommy pretend to be stupid, so she could show how to handle slow kids. That's a lie. Blake snarled. No, it's not. Aiden said, finding courage. She made Sarah fake a tantrum. She gave her candy to cry on camera. Said it was for education research. Robert's face darkened. Take Ms. Blake to my office.
Now.
As security hauled her away, Blake screamed over her shoulder. Garrett won't let this stand. You've ruined everything. Years of work. The laptop screen flickered. A message appeared in the stream overlay. Stream terminated by host. But Kevin was smiling grimly. Too late. I got it all, including the chat logs with full usernames. Roberts turned to the children. Grace, Aiden, I need you to tell your parents everything about these camera games.
Can you do that?
They nodded and hurried off. Sloane's phone was buzzing incessantly. She glanced at it. 3 missed calls from unknown numbers, 5 texts. One made her blood run cold. Check your daughter's Google results. With shaking hands, she searched Ivy Whitfield Riverside Elementary. The first result was a YouTube video. Hilarious. 3rd grader can't read basic words. The thumbnail showed Ivy's face, tears streaming down her cheeks, holding a book upside down. 1.2 million views.
No, Sloane whispered. No, no, no.
Roberts looked at her phone and went pale. Kevin, we need a full audit of what's been posted online. Everything. Kevin was already pulling up multiple monitors in the computer lab next door. This is extensive. There's a whole channel. Behind the blackboard, real kids, real struggles. Hundreds of videos. Sloane clicked on one titled Shy Girl Wets Herself During Presentation. The description read, Natural consequences teach better than coddling. Watch how Ms. B handles this teachable moment. I'm going to be sick, Sloane said. There's more, Kevin said quietly. These videos are being sold on multiple platforms. Patreon, OnlyFans-style subscription services, even some dark web marketplaces. They're categorized as humiliation education and child failure compilations. Roberts was on his phone immediately. I need the superintendent and the school board here now. And call the FBI. 3 hours later, Riverside Elementary was swarming with law enforcement. FBI agents specializing in crimes against children had taken over the main office. Blake sat in an interrogation room, her lawyer present but looking increasingly concerned as evidence mounted. Sloane sat with Agent Diana Foster, a woman with kind eyes but steel in her voice. Ms. Whitfield, your daughter isn't the only victim. We've identified at least 40 children from Blake's current and previous classes featured in these videos. Previous classes? She's been doing this for 3 years, possibly longer. Moving schools when parents got suspicious, always with glowing recommendations. Foster pulled up a map on her tablet. 5 schools across 3 states. Same pattern everywhere. How did no one notice? She was careful. Used different platforms, multiple usernames. And she had help. Foster showed her a corporate registration. EdTech Innovations, LLC. Registered to a Garrett Prescott, former reality TV producer. He pitched a show called America's Worst Students to Networks in 2019. When that failed, he went underground. Sloane's phone rang. Unknown number. Foster nodded, and Sloane answered on speaker. Ms. Whitfield. The voice was smooth, professional. Garrett Prescott. I believe we need to talk. You're the one exploiting children for profit? I'm a content innovator. Education is stale. Parents coddle. We show reality. You show children being humiliated. I show truth. But that's not why I'm calling. I want to make a deal. Foster shook her head, mouthing, keep him talking. What kind of deal? Sloane asked. Remove the videos of your daughter. Compensation for any distress. In exchange, you drop this crusade. How much compensation? $50,000.
Cash.
And Ivy's videos disappear forever. What about the other children?
Prescott laughed.
Not your problem. Be smart, Ms. Whitfield. You're a single mother, working 2 jobs.
Take the money.
Move on. And if I don't, then Ivy becomes internet famous as the girl too stupid to hold a book right side up. These things never really disappear, you know. Even if the original comes down, people save them, share them. Your daughter's worst moments will follow her forever. Sloane felt rage building. You're threatening my child? I'm explaining reality.
Just like we do in our content.
The real world isn't kind to stupid kids with poor parents. My daughter isn't stupid. The internet thinks she is. That's all that matters now. Foster was gesturing frantically. She'd traced the call. Mr. Prescott, Sloane said carefully. Where are you right now? Close enough. Blake was my biggest earner. You know. $30,000 a month in subscriptions alone. You cost me a fortune. She cost children their dignity. Children don't have dignity. They're content. Their parents sign media waivers without reading them. They post their kids on social media daily. We just monetize what everyone's already doing. That's your justification? That's my business model. And it's perfectly legal. We consulted lawyers. Vague media releases, terms of service no one reads, content hosted offshore. You can't touch me. A text from Foster appeared on Sloane's phone. Keep him talking. Units moving to his location. You seem very confident, Sloane said. I am. Because even if you take down Blake, I have 200 more teachers creating content. It's a movement, Ms. Whitfield. Education influencers are the future. Why shouldn't teachers profit from their expertise? Expertise in humiliating children? Expertise in showing reality. Your daughter struggles with reading. That's factual. We filmed it. We shared it. Where's the crime? The crime is exploitation, violation of privacy, emotional abuse. Prove it in court. Meanwhile, those videos rack up views. Your daughter's classmates will find them. High school boyfriends, college admissions officers, future employers. All because you couldn't leave well enough alone. The FBI raid on Garrett Prescott's apartment happened at 4 a.m. Sloane watched from the mobile command unit as agents carried out boxes of hard drives, documents, and equipment. Prescott emerged in handcuffs, still wearing silk pajamas, his perfectly styled hair finally mussed. He saw Sloane through the window and smiled. Agent Foster returned an hour later, looking grim. He was destroying evidence when we arrived. But we got enough. This is bigger than we thought. She spread files across the table. 212 teachers across 14 states. They call themselves EDU creators. They have a private Discord, shared resources, even a mentorship program where experienced exploitation artists train newcomers. Sloane studied the documents. This is organized crime. That's exactly what it is. They have pricing tiers, production guidelines, legal workarounds. Foster pulled up a document titled The Curriculum. This is their playbook. How to identify vulnerable kids, manipulate situations for content, cover their tracks. One section made Sloane's stomach turn. Target selection, single-parent households ideal, less oversight. Low-income families, less likely to sue. ESL students, parents less likely to understand systems. Special needs children, behavior easier to exploit for content. They're predators, Sloane said.
Worse.
They're predators with teaching licenses and union protection. Foster showed her another document. Look at this. They have a legal defense fund, sponsored by 3 major education technology companies who claim they didn't know what the content really was. Sloane's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, but not Prescott's tone. I need to talk to you. I was one of them. I want out. Carla Morrison, Riverside Elementary. Carla Morrison sat in her classroom at 10 p.m., shaking. When Sloane arrived with Agent Foster, the young teacher looked like she hadn't slept in days. I never wanted this, Carla said immediately. Blake cornered me. Said if I didn't participate, she'd stream my boring, outdated teaching methods as an example of what not to do. She'd ruin my career. So you joined them? Foster asked.
No.
I mean, not really. I refuse to film my kids. But Carla pulled out her laptop. I subscribed. To keep tabs on her. To protect my students if they ended up in her content. But that makes me complicit, doesn't it? She showed them her account. $15 monthly subscription to Behind the Blackboard. Her viewing history was minimal, but she'd screenshot everything. Look at this, Carla said, pulling up a private message from Blake. She sent this last month. Carla, stop being sanctimonious. I made $180,000 last year on top of my teaching salary. You're still driving a 2005 Honda. Join us or stay poor. Your choice. But if you report me, remember I have video of you yelling at that kid last year. Amazing what editing can do. She was blackmailing you, Sloane said. All of them do it. They film each other secretly, then use it as leverage. Carla opened another folder. But I've been documenting everything. Every teacher involved at our school. The network extends into administration too. She pulled up an email chain. 3 school board members were listed as premium subscribers to various EDU creator channels, including, Carla said quietly, board president Harold Fitzgerald. He particularly enjoys content featuring teenage girls struggling with math. Foster immediately began taking notes. We'll need everything you have. There's more, Carla said. They're planning something big. A summit next month in Vegas. They're calling it EduCon, monetizing modern education. Prescott was going to unveil new technology. Automated cameras in classrooms that identify content-worthy moments using AI. Sloane felt sick.
Automated exploitation.
They have venture capital funding. $12 million from investors who think they're backing educational innovation. Carla pulled up a presentation. Look at their pitch deck. The slides were polished, professional. Charts showing the creator economy in education. Projections of teachers earning 6 figures from authentic classroom content. Statistics about parent engagement with reality-based education content. They make it sound revolutionary, Foster said. That's how they recruit, Carla explained. They target young teachers drowning in student loans. Show them Blake's success. Promise them financial freedom. By the time they realize what they're really doing, they're in too deep. Sloane's phone rang. It was her mother, who was watching Ivy. Mom, Sloane, honey, you need to come home. Ivy saw something online. Ivy was curled in her grandmother's arms, tablet thrown across the room. Screen cracked. Some kids at school sent her a link, her mother explained. Said it was homework help. Sloane knelt beside her daughter. Baby, what did you see? Me, Ivy whispered. Being stupid. Everyone laughing. The comments. She started crying again. They said I was R-word. They said Mom should give me away. Sloane held her daughter, rage building. You're not stupid, baby. You're brilliant. Ms. Blake is the one who did something wrong. But everyone saw it. Everyone knows. Then everyone will know that we fought back. That we stopped her. Ivy looked up. Can we really stop it? We're going to stop all of it. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Ms. Whitfield? This is Mackenzie Blake. Jennifer Blake's daughter. I'm 18 now, and I need to tell you something about my mother. They met at a 24-hour diner. Mackenzie Blake looked nothing like her mother. No designer clothes, no perfect makeup. Just a tired young woman in college sweats. She's been doing this since I was 7, Mackenzie said without preamble. I was her first victim. Sloane and Foster exchanged glances. She started a mommy blog when I was born. Teaching Moments with Jen. Seemed harmless. Then she started YouTube when I was 5. Raising genius kids. Except I wasn't a genius. So, she started focusing on my failures. Mackenzie pulled out an old tablet. She kept everything. Every meltdown, every mistake, every bad grade. Millions of views. I was known at school as Tantrum Girl from her viral video of me crying over math homework. Where was your father? Foster asked. He left when I was 8. Couldn't stand what she was becoming. The court gave her full custody because she was Teacher of the Year, and he was just a plumber. Mackenzie's voice was bitter. The judge even commended her innovative parenting. She showed them more videos. Young Mackenzie struggling with homework while Jennifer provided commentary about natural consequences and allowing children to fail. When I turned 13, I begged her to stop. She said I was ungrateful, that other kids would kill for the exposure she gave me, that I was building a brand. What changed?
Sloane asked.
I tried to kill myself at 15.
Overdosed on her Xanax. The hospital asked why.
I showed them the videos, the comments, the merchandise she was selling with my crying face on it. Merchandise. Foster leaned forward. Coffee mug saying, "At least your kid isn't Mackenzie." T-shirts with my meltdowns printed on them. She made thousands. What happened after the hospital? CPS investigated, but Mom convinced them it was teenage drama. She was too connected, too respected. She just got sneakier, stopped featuring me, started using her students instead. Mackenzie met Sloane's eyes. I have everything. Years of footage, financial records, correspondence with Prescott from the beginning. She doesn't know I copied it all before I left for college. Why didn't you come forward before? I was scared, ashamed. But when I saw your confrontation today, someone sent me the live stream. I knew it was time. She pulled out a hard drive. This is everything, including something you need to see. She opened a file on her laptop. An email from Prescott to Jennifer, dated 3 years ago. Jen, the Riverside opportunity is perfect. Principal Roberts is naive. Board is disengaged. I've got 3 other teachers ready to transfer in. We'll make Riverside our flagship school. With your reputation, no one will question it. The kids there are perfect, diverse enough for variety, poor enough that parents won't lawyer up. Let's discuss the hazing videos for new students. Those always go viral.
Hotzing videos? Sloane asked.
Mackenzie clicked another file. They were planning to escalate. Physical challenges. Emotional breaking points. They called it educational boot camp content. Foster was already on her phone. I need additional units at Riverside Elementary. We're looking at a larger conspiracy. Carla Morrison's earlier words echoed in Sloane's mind. The network extends into administration too. There's one more thing, Mackenzie said. The summit next month? It's not just for existing teachers. They're recruiting. They have a list of target schools nationwide. They're planning to systematically infiltrate and convert entire districts. She showed them a map. Red pins covered the country, concentrated in low-income areas. They're building an empire, Foster said quietly, using children as raw material. Sloane looked at the evidence spread before them. Then we tear it down. Every piece of it. Her phone lit up with a text from her boss at the law firm. Saw the news. The partners want to discuss representing you pro bono. This is the case that will change education law forever. Another text, this one from Principal Roberts. Emergency board meeting tomorrow.
3 members just resigned.
We need you there. A final message from an unknown number that made her smile grimly. You have no idea what you've started. She typed back. Neither do you. The next morning, Sloane stood in her bathroom mirror, preparing for war. Ivy stood beside her, wearing her favorite dress. Mom, are you scared? Terrified, Sloane admitted. But we're going to win? Sloane thought of Blake in custody, Prescott arrested, the network being exposed, the FBI investigating, Mackenzie's evidence, Carla's testimony, and the growing outrage as parents nationwide discovered their children had been exploited. Yes, baby, we're going to win. And Ms. Blake will go to jail? For a very long time. Ivy nodded solemnly. Good. She made Tommy cry for her camera friends. Tommy's my friend. We're going to make sure no teacher ever does that again. Promise. Promise. As they walked to the car, Sloane's phone buzzed with notifications. The story had gone national overnight. Hashtag classroom exploitation was trending. Parents were checking their children's schools. Teachers were coming forward. The revolution had begun. But Prescott's network wouldn't go down without a fight. As Sloane would soon learn, they had resources, connections, and a complete lack of moral boundaries. The real battle was just beginning. The law offices of Brennan, Walsh and Associates had never seen anything like it. 47 families crowded into the main conference room, their stories heartbreakingly similar. Sloane stood at the front, no longer the exhausted single mother, but a newly barred attorney ready for war. Your children were exploited, she said clearly. Filmed without real consent. Humiliated for profit. and we're going to make them pay. James Brennan, senior partner, nodded approvingly. He'd assigned his best team to support Sloane. Her bar exam results had been extraordinary, and this case would make history. The defendants, Sloane continued, clicking through her presentation, include Jennifer Blake, Garrett Prescott, EdTech Innovations LLC, the streaming platforms that hosted this content, and the Riverside School District for negligent supervision. A father raised his hand. What about the other teachers? My son's special ed meltdowns were streamed by his aide. We're adding defendants as we identify them. The FBI has provided a list of 212 educators across 14 states. This will be a multi-district litigation. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and froze. The number was blocked, but the image was clear. Ivy walking into her grandmother's house, taken from across the street. The message read, "Stop now, or she becomes our biggest star yet." Sloane's hands trembled as she forwarded it to Agent Foster. She continued presenting, but her mind raced. They were escalating. That evening, Sloane found her apartment door slightly ajar. Nothing was disturbed except Ivy's room. Her stuffed animals were arranged in a circle, each holding a small camera. A note sat in the center. "We're always watching." "Mom." Ivy stood in the doorway, eyes wide. "Pack a bag, baby. We're staying with Grandma tonight." As they drove, Sloane noticed the same sedan 3 cars back. When she turned, it turned. When she stopped for gas, it parked across the street. Her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello, Sloane." Not Prescott, a woman's voice, cultured, cold. "This is Vivian Sterling, CEO of Streamlearn Incorporated. I believe you're familiar with our platform." Streamlearn, the main site hosting the exploitation videos. "What do you want?" "To offer you an opportunity. $2 million. Immediate payment. All you have to do is drop the platform from your lawsuit."
No.
$3 million. Not for any amount. Ms. Whitfield, you're a single mother who just passed the bar. You have no real experience. We have a legal team of 200 attorneys. We'll bury you in motions until your daughter is in college. Try me. We already are. Check your email. Sloane pulled over, opened her phone. Her inbox was flooded with legal documents. Motions to dismiss, requests for discovery, depositions scheduled every day for 3 months. This is harassment. This is business. Drop us from the suit, or we'll destroy you professionally before you even begin. Sloane looked at Ivy in the rearview mirror, quietly playing with her tablet. "Ms. Sterling, are you recording this call?" "Don't be ridiculous."
Good.
"Then I can speak freely. You platformed videos of my 8-year-old daughter crying. You categorized them under humiliation education. You profited from child exploitation. I don't care if you have 1,000 lawyers. I'll fight you until my last breath. Your daughter will suffer most. Every video will resurface. We'll make sure of it. And I'll make sure you're held accountable for each one." Sterling's voice hardened. "You've been warned." The line went dead. The sedan was gone. But when Sloane checked her social media, created just for the case, she had thousands of notifications. Someone had created dozens of fake accounts in her name, posting horrific content. Racist rants, explicit photos, deepfakes of her face on other bodies, threats against public figures. The posts were being shared rapidly with captions like, "This is Ivy Whitfield's mother. No wonder the kid is damaged." Her phone exploded with calls. Reporters who'd been sympathetic now asked about her online behavior. Her new employer called, concerned about the firm's reputation. "It's fake," Sloane explained desperately. "They're trying to discredit me." But the damage was spreading. Someone had registered domains with her name, creating websites detailing her history of mental illness and neglectful parenting. They'd even created a fake arrest record. 3 days later, Sloane faced the Bar Association. An emergency ethics complaint had been filed, alleging she'd lied on her bar application about criminal history. "These are fabricated documents," Sloane insisted, presenting evidence. "Look at the metadata. They were created 2 days ago." The panel reviewed everything carefully. "We believe you, Ms. Whitfield. But this is concerning. Are you prepared for this level of retaliation? They're threatening my daughter. I don't have a choice. That afternoon, she received a package. Inside was a flash drive labeled Watch Alone. The video showed Ivy at school, new footage, taken after Blake's arrest. Someone was still filming her. The camera followed her to lunch, recess, the bathroom door. The message was clear. We can reach her anywhere. Agent Foster increased protection, but Sloan knew they couldn't guard Ivy forever. She made a decision. We go public. Completely public. The press conference was held at the Riverside Elementary gym. Sloan stood with 30 other parents, their children's photos, with faces obscured, displayed behind them. Major networks carried it live. Our children were betrayed, Sloan began, by the people we trusted most. Teachers who swore to protect them instead sold their pain for profit. She played excerpts from Blake's streams, carefully edited to protect the children while showing the exploitation. The reporters were visibly uncomfortable. But this isn't about one teacher. This is about a network, a conspiracy, an industry built on exploiting minors. She revealed everything: Prescott's arrest, the 212 teachers, the venture capital funding, the AI technology designed to automatically identify content-worthy moments of children struggling. They call it innovation. We call it child abuse. A reporter raised her hand. Ms. Whitfield, Streamlearn claims you're trying to censor educational content. I have here, Sloan held up a document, Streamlearn's internal emails. They categorized children's content by humiliation factor and viral potential. They had a premium tier specifically for breakdown compilations. Another reporter. What about claims that you're mentally unstable? Those claims appeared online 3 days after I refused a $3 million bribe from Streamlearn's CEO. I have the recording. She played Sterling's threats. The room erupted. But the most powerful moment came when Ivy stepped forward. Sloan tried to stop her, but her daughter took the microphone. Ms. Blake made me cry for her camera friends, Ivy said simply. She said I was stupid. But I'm not stupid. I'm brave. And I want other kids to be brave too. The room was silent. Then thunderous applause. That night, #IvyIsBrave trended worldwide. Parents shared their own stories. Teachers condemned the exploitation. The tide was turning. 6 months later, Federal District Court, Eastern District. The courtroom was packed. Media from around the world. Parents clutching tissues. Teachers divided, some supporting Sloan, others wearing educational freedom pins supporting Blake. Jennifer Blake entered in a conservative suit, her influencer persona replaced with a demure act. Her attorney, Richard Hawthorne, was known for defending the indefensible. Garrett Prescott sat separately, his own legal team distancing him from Blake. Streamlearn had a row of corporate lawyers. The school district looked miserable, caught between sides. Judge Patricia Chen presided, a former teacher herself, known for fairness but intolerance of exploitation. This case, she began, involves fundamental questions about privacy, consent, and the commercialization of childhood struggles. We begin with opening statements. Sloan stood. 6 months of preparation, death threats, and sleepless nights had led to this moment. Your Honor, we will prove that the defendants created, operated, and profited from a systematic exploitation ring that violated federal laws protecting children. They turned classrooms into content farms and children's tears into currency. She clicked her remote. The screen showed the curriculum, Prescott's Guide for Exploitation. This document instructs teachers to identify high-value targets, children whose struggles would generate the most engagement. It recommends triggering anxiety, withholding bathroom breaks, and creating situations designed to cause emotional breakdowns. Several jurors looked horrified. The defendants will claim this was education innovation. Will prove it was child abuse for profit. Hawthorne's opening was smooth, polished. Ms. Blake is an award-winning educator who embraced modern technology to share teaching methods. If documenting classroom reality is a crime, every teacher with a smartphone is guilty. He showed Blake's awards, commendations, positive parent reviews from before the scandal. Ms. Whitfield wants to silence teachers, stifle innovation, and return education to the dark ages. Don't let one parent's vendetta destroy educational progress. The first witness was Mackenzie Blake. Jennifer's face went white as her daughter took the stand. She started filming me when I was 5, Mackenzie testified. Every mistake, every tear, every moment of frustration became content. I attempted suicide at 15 because classmates found compilation videos of my worst moments that had millions of views. Objection, Hawthorne said. Relevance. It establishes pattern of behavior, Sloan responded. Overruled. Mackenzie continued, describing years of exploitation. She produced receipts. Her mother had earned $400,000 from videos of Mackenzie's childhood struggles. Did you consent to this? Sloan asked. I was a child. I couldn't consent. When I begged her to stop at 13, she said I was ungrateful, that I should appreciate the brand she'd built for me. On cross-examination, Hawthorne was ruthless. Isn't it true you're estranged from your mother? Because she exploited me. Isn't it true you're receiving money from Ms. Whitfield? That's a lie. Isn't it true you're writing a book about this? To help other victims. But Mackenzie held firm, and the jury saw the damage, a young woman forever marked by her mother's exploitation. Kevin Park, the IT administrator, testified next. He'd analyzed the full scope of the operation. 2,000 hours of footage. 400 children filmed, without proper consent. The metadata shows extensive editing to make children appear worse than reality. He showed an example, raw footage of a child solving a math problem correctly, edited to show only mistakes with laugh track added. This wasn't documentation. It was manipulation. Agent Foster testified about the criminal investigation. We've identified a complex financial network. Teachers paid kickbacks to Prescott. Prescott paid bribes to platform executives. Some school board members received consulting fees to look the other way. She showed financial records. Blake had earned $180,000 annually from streaming. Prescott made $2.3 million. StreamLearn profited $50 million from educational humiliation content. This was organized crime using children as raw material. Then came the most powerful testimony, the children themselves, via closed-circuit TV to protect their identities. Tommy, age 9, Ms. Blake made me pretend to be stupid. She gave me candy if I cried on camera. She said it was helping other teachers learn. Sarah, age 8. She told me to throw a tantrum. When I said no, she took away my recess until I did it. Aiden, age 10. She called us her little stars but laughed when we messed up. She said mistakes made the best videos. The courtroom was silent, except for muffled sobs from the gallery. Blake took the stand in her own defense. Hawthorne pitched softball questions, letting her paint herself as an innovative educator persecuted for embracing technology. I only wanted to share real teaching moments, Blake said, tears perfectly timed. Parents don't understand how difficult education is today. Sloane's cross-examination was surgical. Ms. Blake, you testified you were sharing real teaching moments. Is that correct? Yes. Then why did you hire child actors to play problem students in some videos? Blake's face flushed. That was for demonstration purposes. Sloane showed receipts. You paid these actors to cry on command, to wet themselves,
To have meltdowns.
then mix this footage with real students. Why? To protect real children's privacy while still educating. You mean to create more extreme content when real children weren't suffering enough? Objection. Hawthorne shouted. Withdrawn. Sloane pulled up an email. Ms. Blake, did you write this to Garrett Prescott? The dumber the kids look, the more engagement we get. Parents crying is gold? That was taken out of context. What context makes that acceptable? Blake had no answer. Sloane showed the revenue breakdown. You made $6,000 from a video of Ivy crying. How is that educational? Teachers deserve fair compensation. For exploiting children? For sharing expertise. What expertise is demonstrated in a compilation video titled, Third Graders Failing Hilariously? Blake's composure cracked. You don't understand the pressure. The student loans. The impossible standards. Prescott said this was the future, that we deserve to profit from our work. So you chose profit over children's well-being? I chose survival. Blake screamed. Do you know what teachers make? Do you know what we sacrifice? Why shouldn't we monetize our skills? Because your skills involved humiliating children for money. Blake broke down, not the controlled tears of earlier, but ugly sobs. He said it was legal. He said parents would never find out. He said. Who said? Prescott. Sterling. The whole network. They promised we were innovating education. Her attorney tried to stop her, but Blake was beyond control. They have everything planned. AI cameras in every classroom by 2027. Automatic content generation. They called it educational reality TV. They said children's struggles were untapped content gold. Judge Chin called a recess. Blake's breakdown had been live-streamed by courtroom cameras, a fitting irony. Prescott's testimony was different. Calm, collected, corporate. I saw an opportunity to modernize education funding. Teachers are underpaid. Content creation is a legitimate revenue stream. Using children? Sloan pressed. Using classroom moments that were already occurring. That you instructed teachers to manufacture. To optimize. Sloan showed the curriculum again. Page 47 instructs teachers to create emotional pressure points. What does that mean? To challenge students appropriately. Page 48 suggests bathroom denial for authentic desperation content. Is that appropriate challenge? Prescott's calm cracked slightly. That was a draft. Never implemented. Here's video of 3 children wetting themselves in Blake's class, tagged bathroom denial success. Was that not implemented? The jury looked disgusted. Sterling testified via video link. All corporate polish. StreamLearn is a platform. We're not responsible for user content. Sloan pulled up internal emails. You created a category called Child Fails. You promoted meltdown compilations. You had algorithms specifically boosting high humiliation content. We respond to user demand. You created demand by promoting exploitation. We promoted engagement. With children suffering, Sterling's facade never cracked, but the jury saw through it. Closing arguments brought everything full circle. Hawthorne argued for educational freedom, innovation, First Amendment rights. Don't let fear stifle progress. Sloan stood for her final moment. They called it innovation. Progress. The future of education. But strip away the buzzwords and what remains? Adults profiting from children's pain. Teachers manufacturing tears for tips. Platforms promoting suffering for subscriptions. She showed Ivy's photo, face obscured but pain visible. My daughter asked me why Ms. Blake was mean to her. I had to explain that her tears were worth $6,000. Her humiliation had a price tag. Her trust was a commodity. She turned to the jury. They turned classrooms into content farms. They made children into products. They sold innocence for clicks. This isn't innovation, it's exploitation. This isn't progress, it's abuse. This isn't the future of education, it's the destruction of childhood itself. You have the power to stop it. To say that no amount of money justifies exploiting children. To declare that classrooms are sanctuaries, not studios. To affirm that children's struggles are opportunities for compassion, not content. Find them guilty. Not just for Ivy. Not just for the 400 children identified. But for every child who deserves to learn without being live-streamed, to struggle without being mocked, to trust without being betrayed. The jury deliberated for 3 days. When they returned, the foreman stood. We find the defendants guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted. Blake collapsed. Prescott's jaw clenched. Sterling's feed cut off. Judge Chen's sentence was harsh, but just. Blake, 10 years federal prison, lifetime ban from teaching. Prescott, 15 years, forfeiture of all profits. StreamLearn, $50 million in damages, criminal charges for executives pending. But the real victory came in the judge's final words. This court hereby establishes that streaming, recording, or distributing images of minors without explicit, specific consent for each use constitutes federal crime. The commodification of childhood struggles ends today. Outside the courthouse, Sloan held Ivy's hand as they faced the cameras, this time by choice. "We won," Ivy said simply. "Yes, baby. We won." But as they walked away, Sloan's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "This isn't over. The network is bigger than you know. A friend. The battle was won." The war continued. 6 months after the verdict, Sloan's law office occupied the corner of a modest building in downtown Riverside, but Whitfield and Associates, children's digital rights law, had become the most important legal practice in America. The walls were covered with thank you letters from families, newspaper clippings of victories, and drawings from children who finally felt safe in their classrooms. Ivy sat at a small desk in the corner, doing homework, real homework, graded fairly, at her new school with ironclad privacy policies. She joined the drama club, finding power in performance when it was her choice. "Mom, look." Ivy held up her tablet showing a news alert. Ms. Blake tried to stream from prison again. The headline read, "Disgraced teacher caught with contraband phone. Sentence extended." Jennifer Blake had somehow acquired a smartphone and attempted to launch Education Behind Bars, streaming her persecution to remaining supporters. She'd managed 12 minutes before guards shut it down, 12 minutes of ranting about soft parents and snowflake children that only proved she'd learned nothing. "She'll never stop, will she?" Ivy asked. "Some people can't admit they're wrong, baby. But she can't hurt anyone anymore." A knock at the door interrupted them. Carla Morrison entered with a nervous-looking young man. "Sloan, this is David Huang. He was part of the network. He wants to testify." David couldn't meet Sloan's eyes. "I taught 5th grade in Portland. Prescott recruited me last year. I streamed 23 conferences before you exposed everything. Why come forward now?" "Because I can't sleep. One of my students, Marcus, tried to hurt himself after finding videos of his learning disability being mocked by thousands of strangers. I did that. I need to make it right." Sloan studied him. "You'll face criminal charges." "I know. Prison time. I deserve it. And you'll help us identify others?" David pulled out a laptop. "I have everything. The Discord servers, the financial networks, even the new platforms they're building overseas." He showed them a site hosted in Romania, EDU Stream Global, where teaching meets reality. Already, 5,000 teachers had signed up. "They're regrouping," Carla said grimly. "Then we go international," Sloan replied. The documentary premiered 3 months later. Lessons in Betrayal aired simultaneously on major networks worldwide. Sloan had agreed to participate only if no child's face was shown without explicit consent, and all proceeds went to victims. The filmmaker had been thorough. Hidden camera footage from inside the EDU creator meetings. Financial records showing the full scope, $200 million generated from exploiting children over 5 years. Interviews with reformed teachers who broke down crying as they realized what they'd done. But the most powerful moment was Garrett Prescott's deposition, played in full. "Children are content generators," he said calmly. "They produce emotional moments naturally. We simply captured and monetized what was already happening." "You don't see them as human beings?" the interviewer asked. "I see them as underutilized resources in the education economy." The interviewer paused. "Do you have children, Mr. Prescott?"
No. By choice.
"Children are liabilities, not assets." The documentary ended with Ivy speaking at a congressional hearing, her voice clear and strong. "Adults are supposed to protect kids. Teachers are supposed to help us learn. But they turned us into shows for mean people to watch. That's not okay. That's never okay." The impact was immediate. #ProtectNotProfit exploded globally. Teachers' unions denounced exploitation. Education schools added mandatory ethics courses on digital boundaries. Ivy's law was signed in the Rose Garden on a crisp October morning. Sloan and Ivy stood beside the president as she signed legislation making classroom exploitation a federal crime with mandatory minimums. No child should fear that their struggles will become entertainment, the president said. No parent should worry that their child's tears will be monetized. This law ensures that classrooms remain places of learning, not studios for content creation. The law was comprehensive. Explicit, specific consent required for any recording of minors in educational settings. Severe penalties for violation, minimum 5 years for first offense. Platforms liable for hosting exploitative content involving minors. Mandatory reporting by educators who discover exploitation. Federal funding for privacy protection technology in schools. But even as they celebrated, Sloane's phone buzzed with a disturbing message. Beautiful ceremony. Shame it won't stop us. We're already in your daughter's new school. A friend. Sloane's blood froze. She immediately called the school, but the damage was done. Someone had been filming Ivy and her drama club, posting clips to a dark website titled, The Girl Who Killed EduStream. The FBI traced it to a teacher's aide who'd been hired 2 weeks prior, a plant from the network, seeking revenge. They'll never stop coming for her, Agent Foster said quietly. She's become their symbol of everything they lost. That night, Sloane made a difficult decision. We're going to homeschool for a while, she told Ivy. Just until things calm down. Ivy nodded sadly. They really hate us, don't they? They hate that we won. The technology solution came from an unexpected source. Marcus Webb, yes, that Marcus, Prescott's former partner, reached out from prison. I want to help, he said via video call. I know I'm garbage. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I also know their systems better than anyone. He'd spent his prison time developing SafeClass, software that detected and blocked unauthorized streaming from educational networks. It identifies streaming signatures, blocks known exploitation platforms, and alerts administrators to suspicious recording activity, he explained. It's my attempt at, I don't know, redemption? Penance. Sloane was skeptical, but the technology was sound. After extensive testing and FBI verification, SafeClass was implemented in schools nationwide. Within 6 months, attempted exploitation streams dropped by 94%. Marcus refused any profit from it. I made enough blood money. This is free. Forever. The International Summit in Dublin brought together representatives from 50 countries. Sloane co-chaired with Ireland's Minister of Education, crafting the Dublin Declaration on Children's Digital Rights. Exploitation knows no borders, Sloane addressed the assembly. A child filmed in America can be mocked in Australia, humiliated in Britain, degraded in Japan. We must stand united. The declaration established international crime classification for classroom exploitation, extradition treaties for offenders, shared databases of known exploiters, coordinated platform regulation, global alert system for exploitation content. But the summit was disrupted when someone hacked the presentation system, displaying a message. You can't stop progress. Children's content is the future. We are everywhere. We are teachers, administrators, parents. We are Legion. Security traced it to a hotel room where they found elaborate surveillance equipment and thousands of hours of footage from the summit itself. Someone had been streaming the private sessions where victim stories were shared. The perpetrator escaped, but left behind evidence of EduStream 2.0, a decentralized, blockchain-based platform designed to be impossible to shut down. They're evolving, Foster said grimly. So are we, Sloane replied. 5 years later, the middle school auditorium was packed. Parents, teachers, students, all gathered for Riverside Middle's graduation ceremony. 13-year-old Ivy Whitfield stood at the podium, valedictorian medal gleaming. 5 years ago, she began, I was the girl who couldn't read. At least, that's what the internet said. I was the stupid kid, the slow one, the example of failure. She paused, looking at her mother in the front row. But I learned something important. The internet lies. People who should protect you sometimes hurt you instead. And sometimes, one person standing up can change everything. Her speech wasn't about academic achievement. It was about resilience, justice, and the power of truth. I'm going to be a lawyer, she announced. Like my mom. Because there are still kids being hurt, still teachers who think children are content, still platforms profiting from pain. And someone has to stop them. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Sloane's practice had expanded to 3 offices, 20 attorneys, and a foundation providing free representation to exploitation victims. They'd won 312 cases, secured $500 million in damages, and put 89 exploiters in prison. But the morning mail brought a familiar chill. An envelope with no return address, containing a single photo, Mackenzie Blake at her therapy practice, taken with a telephoto lens. On the back, she testified, she pays. Mackenzie had become a therapist specializing in helping children exploited for content. She'd published a memoir, My Mother's Camera, donating proceeds to victims. She'd found peace, purpose, and was helping hundreds heal. Sloane immediately called her. They're threatening you now. I know, Mackenzie said calmly. They've been leaving dead cameras on my doorstep, sending me clips of my childhood breakdowns. But I'm not scared anymore. Why not? Because we won, Sloane. My mother is in prison. Prescott's empire is destroyed. Children are protected. They can threaten all they want. They've already lost. The parole hearing was held on a gray Thursday. Jennifer Blake, now 52, sat before the board in prison gray, her influencer glow long faded. I've reformed, she said mechanically. I understand what I did was wrong. I'm ready to contribute positively to society. The board chair looked skeptical. Ms. Blake, we've reviewed your prison record. You've attempted to stream contraband content 17 times. You've written a manuscript titled, Cancelled for Caring, My Truth, that minimizes your crimes. You've shown no genuine remorse. I've been persecuted. You've been held accountable.
Parole de nid.
We'll review again in 5 years. As she was led away, Blake screamed, You don't understand. I was helping. I was showing reality. Those kids needed to learn they weren't special. Even after 5 years, she hadn't learned the most basic lesson. Children deserve protection, not exploitation. Principal Roberts, now Superintendent Roberts, invited Sloane to join the school board officially. She accepted, implementing revolutionary changes. Mandatory background checks specifically screening for content creation history. Quarterly privacy audits of all classroom technology. Student rights education starting in kindergarten. Parent access to all recordings made in schools. Anonymous reporting systems for suspected exploitation. We're making Riverside the safest district in America, Roberts said. We're making it what every district should be, Sloane corrected. The unexpected redemption came from Marcus. Released after serving 3 years with good behavior, he'd continued developing anti-exploitation technology. His testimony had helped convict dozens of predators. He lived quietly, working minimum wage, donating every spare penny to victims' funds. I can't undo what I did, he told Sloane at their final meeting. But maybe I can prevent others from making the same choice. His software had evolved to detect deepfakes of children, identify exploitation patterns in seemingly innocent content, and alert authorities to emerging threats. It was used in 40 countries, protecting millions. Do you think you've earned redemption?
Sloane asked. No.
Never. But I'll keep trying anyway. The Global Summit's 5th anniversary brought remarkable news. Classroom exploitation had dropped 98% globally. The Dublin Declaration had been signed by 147 nations. Ivy's law had inspired similar legislation worldwide. Sloane delivered the keynote to 10,000 educators. 5 years ago, a teacher told me my daughter got her intelligence from me, as an insult. She was right, though not how she meant. Ivy got her strength from watching me fight, her courage from seeing me stand up to power, her intelligence from learning that justice matters more than comfort. You are teachers. You shape minds, hearts, futures. You hold sacred trust. Some of you have been tempted by the promise of easy money, the allure of internet fame, the rationalization that you deserve more. You do deserve more pay, more respect, more support. But not at the cost of the children you swore to protect. Every child who enters your classroom carries dreams, fears, potential. They trust you with their struggles. Honor that trust. Protect their dignity. Be the teacher they remember for kindness, not the one who sold their tears for clicks. The standing ovation was thunderous, but Sloan noticed some teachers remained seated, arms crossed. The network might be broken, but the mentality persisted in pockets, waiting for another chance. The scholarship announcement came at graduation. Using the settlement money, Sloan had established full-ride scholarships for children affected by classroom exploitation. The first recipient was Tommy, the boy Blake had made cry for candy. Now 18, headed to engineering school. "Ms. Whitfield saved us," he said simply. "All of us." 30 young adults stood. All victims from Blake's classes, all heading to college, all determined to ensure no child experienced what they had. The final confrontation came unexpectedly. Sloan was walking to her car when a woman approached, polished, professional, familiar somehow. "Ms. Whitfield?" Vivian Sterling, the former Streamlearn CEO, out on appeal, banned from tech, but not broken. "What do you want?" "To tell you something. You won this battle. Destroyed my company, sent me to prison, changed the entire industry. But you can't change human nature." Meaning, people will always monetize vulnerability, always exploit weakness, always turn pain into profit. You've driven it underground, but it's still there. Dark web, private channels, international servers. We'll find them. Sterling smiled coldly. "No, you won't. Because the next generation is smarter. They learned from our mistakes. They're using AI, encryption, anonymous everything. And they're not targeting classrooms, they're targeting homes. Parents streaming their own children, calling it family vlogging or homeschool documentation." Sloane's blood chilled. She'd been so focused on schools, she'd missed the pivot. "Why tell me?" "Because you cost me everything. And I want you to know that you'll be fighting this forever. Your daughter will be fighting this. Her children will be fighting this. You've won a battle in an eternal war." Sterling walked away, leaving Sloan with a terrible truth. The fight would never truly end. That evening, Sloan and Ivy sat together, reviewing college brochures. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, all had accepted her. "I want to go to state," Ivy said suddenly. "Stay close. Work with you. You don't have to fight my fight, baby. It's not your fight anymore, Mom. It's ours. It's everyone's." Ivy pulled up her laptop, showing Sloan something she'd been working on, a platform called Kids First, where young people could share their stories of exploitation, find support, and access resources. "We can't stop them all," Ivy said, "but we can help the victims. We can educate parents. We can make sure no kid feels alone like I did." Already, the platform had 10,000 members. The final live stream was different. Consensual. Purposeful. Sloan and Ivy sat before a camera in their home, addressing millions who tuned in for the 5th anniversary of the Blake trial. "This time, we're watching back," Ivy began, echoing their campaign slogan. "We're in control. We choose to share our story." They talked for an hour about trauma, healing, justice, and hope, about the ongoing fight and the victories won, about the children still at risk and the adults working to protect them. The stream raised $3 million for victim support in 60 minutes. As they signed off, Ivy looked directly at the camera. "To any kid watching who's been hurt, recorded, mocked, or exploited, you're not alone. You're not stupid. You're not worthless. You're a survivor. And we're fighting for you. To any adult thinking about exploiting children for content, we're watching. We'll find you. And we'll stop you." The camera light went dark. Mother and daughter sat in comfortable silence. "Think it's over?" Ivy asked. "No," Sloan said honestly. "But we've made it harder. We've saved thousands. We've changed the world. Good enough for now. Good enough for now." Outside, the world spun on, full of threats and promises, predators and protectors. But in classrooms across the globe, children learned without fear of cameras. Teachers taught without temptation of profit. And slowly, gradually, the sacred trust between educator and student began to heal. The war wasn't won. It might never be. But today, children were safer than yesterday. And tomorrow, Sloane and Ivy would make them safer still. That was their promise, their purpose, their legacy. The live stream betrayal had become a revolution of protection, one saved child at a time. What would you do if you discovered your child's worst moments were being sold as entertainment to strangers online? Would you have the courage to fight back, even if it meant taking on an entire system? If this story opened your eyes to what could be happening in classrooms everywhere, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that expose the dark truths hiding in plain sight.